Welcome to My Moon Time. In this recording, we do have some adult language. You may choose to want to listen with your headphones on. If so, now's the time. Hello, welcome. I'm Dana Michelle Gillespie, creator of My Moon Time. I have Carley Smith here with us today, Fairy GutMother. Very excited to have her here for us as she is a nutritionist specializing in the G.A.P.S protocol, which became new to me this spring, and I'm so grateful. A doctor friend of mine recommended it. So welcome, Carley.
Yay, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Carley, if you're watching this, she was driving to her destination and there was a car accident. So she didn't quite make it to her destination to set up her normal recording, but you know what? It's life. We just keep flowing with it.
It is, right. I'm on assignment. Let's say that.
Oh, how fun. How fun. So with My Moon Time, we're always, focused on menstrual health and female wellness. And for everyone listening, they might not be familiar with G.A.P.S protocol, and you have a pretty incredible story. Do you want to talk about that a little bit for everyone?
You bet, sure. So I originally got started in gut health and everything in 2014. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And so I went the whole antibiotics route and felt like I was taking medications for my medications and they were doing more harm on my body than good. So I went off all my medication and just started doing my own research. And that's when I learned about nearly the entire immune system is located in the gut. So my theory was, all right, if I heal my gut, I can boost my immune system and then hopefully suppress the disease. And that's exactly what happened. And with Lyme, it really settled for me very differently than what most people experience. I mean, of course, I had a lot of the body aches and pains and all that, but and cognitive function and neurological issues, but I did experience a lot of hormonal issues. I was menstrual bleeding for like 4 months straight, and the doctors were trying to figure out what was wrong. I went on a lot of different kinds of birth control and, all sorts of things. So the hormones played a really big part in my healing from Lyme disease, but ultimately healing from the gut as well. And the diet that I did go on was called the G.A.P.S diet, as you had mentioned, which stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And so the idea behind that is it's really an elimination and reintroduction diet, all centered around healing the gut.
Incredible. Since I went on this protocol starting in spring, and I'm kind of like one of those that tends to overshare a bit. And I will have been telling random people that I run into, because we get to talk about food. I'm like, yeah, I'm on this G.A.P.S protocol, G.A.P.S diet. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh my God, check out, there's 2 books, right? There's the one on psychology and one on physiology, and they're profound.
Yes, all of her books are incredible.
Does she have more than that?
There's a lot of different books that she has around G.A.P.S diet, G.A.P.S and the heart health, G.A.P.S stories, so all different kinds of things, but primarily around the G.A.P.S diet.
That's pretty cool. I know I definitely I first read the psychology book, and skimmed through because it goes into such depth of science, and then went online to the practitioners like you to kind of look up the recipes. Okay, like what do I really need to do here? But I have to say, from certainty, and why I'm so happy to have you on here, is that protocol really works. Like, I had a childhood dairy allergy that's gone. Like, I cannot believe it. Like, I can't believe the dairy I'm eating. And, of course, there's many people maybe listening that's like, oh, you shouldn't eat dairy. It's like, I used to totally believe if you know how to heal your body, just go raw vegan for, a few months, you'll be totally fine. It'll heal itself. And now my mind is completely blown, and I'm seeing things in total different perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
And it's incredible. It's kind of like, there's no one right answer, but.
Right. Well, and to your point about dairy, what's really interesting is I have a lot of clients with dairy issues, but they'll make their own homemade yogurt, which is recommended on the G.A.P.S diet, and be totally fine consuming that. So regular store-bought yogurt would, cause a lot of digestive discomfort for them, and they make their own and they're totally fine. So it has a lot to do with, the quality of ingredients and how long you're culturing it or essentially fermenting it for. But yeah, it's amazing what all heals with the GAPS diet. You might go in thinking you're going to heal your digestive issues, but come out of it with, fewer seasonal allergies and food allergies and better, mental clarity and sleeping better, energy levels. I mean, it's all related back to the gut.
That is so cool. I love that. So for everyone listening, and I guess I can share this for myself. Another reason why I want to have you on here is you can read these books, which are so great, the GAPS protocol, but it's really when we work with someone like you that can, because everything is so individualized. Do you want to share a little bit about like how you work with your clients? Because this practice is very individualized. There's no one right way.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm so glad you bring that up too, because there's no one size fits all approach. And I tell people that the gut is unique. It's like a thumbprint, it's completely unique to you. So your healing is going to be different than everybody else's. And I've never once recommended the same protocol twice for my clients. Although I have them on similar supplements and diets, but how they go about integrating those supplements is unique for each person, because some person might hang out a little bit longer on a certain stage versus another person. And it all has to do with your gut and how your body responds. And that's what's cool about the GAPS diet, is that the stages of the GAPS, you're on them for as long as you need to progress onto that next stage. And you kind of monitor that by how you're feeling. And if you're on stage for a while and you feel good, you start reintroducing those foods again for the next stage. If you have digestive issues, you take a step back, continue on that stage, and then kind of move forward from there. So it really is about healing your body at your own time with your own biochemical individuality, which is so important to be focusing on, because we are all so different, that not everybody's healing journey is going to be the same.
That's perfectly well said. So well said. Yeah, I feel for people with menstrual related issues,
yes,
and autoimmune related issues. And I mean, if you go into the book, what is the doctor's name who came up with this?
Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride.
That yellow book is all about the psychology, right? The psychology one.
Correct.
It talks about
Correct.
how this GAPS protocol can cure, I think she says autism, depression, yes, schizophrenia, all sorts.
Yes.
Which was mind blowing. And the other one's about like the physiology,
correct,
for the energy levels and whatnot. But working with a GAPS practitioner one-on-one, I think is very helpful for this, because it can get really like confusing and you're like, what do I do? So
absolutely. And it can get really confusing. And, if you're having issues, how do you know to move on to the next step? So it's great to have practitioners available. But, what's great too, is that there's so much information out there now. I mean, when I was starting this in 2014, there was not a lot of resources, information, and especially as it relates to the foods that you cook on GAPS. I mean, people were just barely talking about bone broth. I couldn't go buy bones at the store. So it's progressed so much, which is so great to see that now there's a lot more resources out there. There's GAPS cookbooks, and like I said, more practitioners. So it's a lot easier to be on GAPS now than it was several years ago.
I love that. I was going to ask you, did you go and get your nutrition certification? Is it first and then do GAPS, or GAPS first and then
yes,
nutrition?
So I went to the nutritional therapy school in Bellevue, Washington. So it's an online program, nutritional therapy practitioner. And I did that. And then right as I was finishing that, I went into GAPS. And I think unless they changed it for GAPS, that you have to have some prerequisite to be a GAPS practitioner. So some sort of certification or degree, and then to go on that training. So I had just finished becoming an NTP and then went into that.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Oh, I'm kind of jumping all over the place right now. Do you remember by chance how long it took you when you started doing GAPS for the Lyme's disease? 4 months, I think you said how many, it was 4 months of bleeding straight. How long did it
Yes.
take to clear that? So where your cycle was back to
Well,
normal?
for the cycle itself was probably about a year. But that wasn't to say that I was, had the chronic bleeding that entire time. I noticed improvements in my health as it relates to Lyme disease within the first few weeks on the GAPS diet.
Oh, wow.
That's why I was like, oh my gosh, more people need to know about this. When I was on the first few weeks of GAPS, my memory started coming back. I started because I lost a lot of memory. I forgot where I lived driving home from work one day. So I started working from home because I was kind of confined to my apartment. I really didn't even trust myself going out. So it was my memory that was coming back. I was able to think more clearly. I had more control over my emotions, just, better cognitive function. And that was one of the first things that I noticed. And then from there, I would say probably about a year later, I had way more stable hormones and cycles. But I also started incorporating about 6 months in or so acupuncture. And I really believe that acupuncture and GAPS go very well together because it really just taps into that body on the energetic level. So you have GAPS in the diet and the gut side. And then on that other side, one of the acupuncturist practitioners had said to me, well, think of your energy for your body as like a highway. And if there's an accident, the energy can't get through. So when you have energy that's stuck on the body in certain places, if it's in the heart or the gut, there's certain places where the energy can kind of get stuck, that it's not flowing properly. So when you go on GAPS, there can be a lot of detox symptoms and, different things like that acupuncture can really help to just clear that up, to open up those energy pathways so that everything runs more smoothly. And as it relates to hormones, I think that's been one of the best things that I've done in combination with the GAPS diet to really keep things regular.
Oh, that's so cool. My entire life, like I'm obsessed with acupuncture and,
It's wonderful.
Anytime, anywhere, it's just
Yeah.
my doctor, Dr. Laura Brown, when I went in to have a session with her a few months ago, and she was like putting the needles in, she's like, okay, enjoy your, Soul Star session. I'm like, what are you talking about? I think she called it Soul Star. I was in such nirvana. Like at first, so the analyzer part of my mind kind of fluttered and was like, but it didn't take very long for me just to go in. I didn't want to come out. I was like, no, don't take the needles. This is so wonderful.
Exactly.
I keep messaging her because she's on maternity leave. And I'm like, are you back in practice yet? Like, when can I get back on your table?
Right. Exactly.
So good. Oh, I love that.
Yes.
So do you have any client stories that you love and you want to share that would be inspirational for other people to hear about?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody's story is unique, and everybody's healing story is important to me. Anybody that I've helped that is feeling better is, there's not one that's more important than the other. If people are feeling better, that is all that, makes a huge difference to me. And I think specifically as it relates to GAPS, I do have one specific client that she came to me for just for eczema, but her eczema was so bad that she was confined to her house and she could just drape a blanket over her. I mean, that she couldn't barely wear any clothes. The doctors were doing skin grafts and all sorts of things. And I had somehow gotten in touch with her. I was giving presentations and on nutrition, and she had mentioned this, and I said, well, it's probably related to your gut. And she's like, oh, this is a skin issue. This has absolutely nothing to do with my gut. And I said, well, actually, a lot of skin issues, especially eczema, rosacea, acne, your skin is its own microbiome. You have several microbiomes in the body, one in your mouth, one in the lungs, the gut, the vagina, and the skin. The gut is like the mother of all the microbiomes. So generally, if you have a skin issue or issues in other areas, well, you would want to start with the gut, and then you can always treat those other areas individually. But I was telling her that, the GAPS diet, and let's work on healing your gut. And she did, and she stuck to the GAPS diet. She was very adamant about it. And again, it was one of those things where you don't realize what's all going to heal when you go on GAPS until, you heal the gut and you look back. And that was the case for her. Not only did her eczema improve, but her cholesterol improved, and she lost weight. She was vibrant. I mean, her skin was glowing. And even the doctor was like, what are you doing? What are you going? She's like, I'm eating animal fats and I'm eating butter. And, and the doctor's like, this can't be, your cholesterol level is the best it's ever been. And so it was a really, great experience working with her. I think just to see the progress that she made on so many different levels, especially as it relates to something that you might not necessarily think related back to the gut.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
it was really
incredible.
special. Yeah.
I know I'm jumping around again. Natasha, the woman who came up with this, I think you mentioned when we were talking outside of here that her son had autism, I think, and that's why she
Yes.
came up with this.
Yes. So her son was autistic, and she was looking to, reverse his autism. And she started with kind of what's called the specific carbohydrate diet. And that's what GAPS was formed, was off of that diet. And she ended up reversing his autism just based on this protocol itself. So there's a lot of autistic children on this, and a lot of stories. If you read the GAPS Stories book, you'll read a lot of the success stories for people that have been on this and able to kind of heal themselves.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. These things that I feel like people are like, oh, you're plagued by it. This is your identity in your life for the rest of your life. And it's like, wait, people are reversing this. This is amazing. Like,
yes. And it's everything too. I mean, like, that's for me with Lyme disease, like, that no one even talks about Lyme disease relating to your gut. It's like a tick bite. How do you heal that? It's just always going to be in you. So you're always going to be sick. And I think that idea that there's, what people are so frustrated by is that there isn't anything out there to help. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because the gut truly is the foundation for our health. It doesn't matter what you're struggling with. Start with the gut. It will always help you. So that's why I think it's just what happens when you work with gut health is really quite remarkable. All the things that can kind of fall into place from that, and all that relates back to it.
Oh, that's amazing. I know. I emailed you a handful of months ago. Emails kept going back and forth of different getting lost through and whatnot, but I'm so happy to have you here today because I speak from experience. This GAPS protocol is profound, and for women that have menstrual related issues, and to connect with another female that's like gone through it themselves and healed their, all of their issues, and their menstrual cycle got back to wellness, is priceless. Yeah.
Yes. And I do want to say too, because I get a lot of female clients with endometriosis or PCOS, and I'm certainly not an expert in hormones, but I will work closely with their practitioner or their doctor on the gut health side, so they can work on the other side. If they want to do bioidentical hormones or whatever the treatment that they decide to do for PCOS or whatever hormonal imbalance that they have, but always working on that simultaneously with gut health. And that has had a real profound effect. And I think especially as women, it's one thing to really talk about our stress levels. And I don't think that, I think diet is great. I think, all these things are helpful. There's never a one size fits all, like we talked about. It's always lots of different things. But I think we do need to address that stress. Even clinical research says stress is more damaging on the gut than junk food. And what I see a lot of times with my female clients is that it's a lot of it is stress, that they have pretty good diets, but it's just that this chronic stress that's really wearing them down, and stress weakens the gut lining. It affects the microbiome, or the collection of bacteria and fungi in the gut. And there is actually certain species of bacteria, one in particular is called estrobolome, and that helps to metabolize estrogen. So and it's in the gut. So if you have an overgrowth of pathogens in the gut, that's going to limit the amount of good bacteria in you have, like estrobolome, that helps to metabolize those estrogens. So again, so much goes back to the gut, and our stress levels. If our stress is high, we're not going to be having that good bacteria and a real healthy gut lining.
Send them to me. That I'm an expert in stress and how the mind gets programmed and how to clear that stuff. Cause yeah. And I really have huge compassion for humans. It's like, it's as much as everyone's like, everything's spinning out of control.
I know.
It's,
right.
if people really understood how easily, how we've been programmed for, centuries just by basic, commands. And it's been going on for so long of, good girl, bad girl, good boy, bad boy, and shame, blame, credit, and debit. It's a miracle that we're alive as humans as it is. So I kind of look around and we're like, you know what? It's amazing. Cause like, that's how the 98% of most all illnesses start from, like you said, stress and that fear response. And a little bit is because we have evolved brains that are trying to protect us, but we get some pieces that the memory doesn't get cleared. So it gets stuck there. So a lot of that stress is just little things from childhood that are so deep in there. And, there's a lot that are catching up. If they're trained in rapid resolution therapy or core transformations, they generally know how to do it effectively, like within a couple of sessions to start clearing that. But
that's great. It's so
very
important.
passionate about that stuff.
Yeah. They say you store your issues in your tissues. I always love that. So I'm like, that is the truth.
Well, it's in the subconscious mind, and it, yes, in some of the tissues in the body, but it's also in that subconscious body. Like, cause if you clear it out, once you clear it out of the subconscious mind, it's magically gone from the body, cause it's not actually really ever in the body. People think it is, and they'll try to address the body, but it's not really there. It's in that subconscious, which will mimic like the phantom limb symptom. You take the limb off and you feel like because it's that subconscious programming.
Right.
Yeah, it's in that space.
That's a great analogy, because I've heard too that acupuncture will still work for that area, that they'll treat the area if you still don't have it. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I would, if, I can't believe acupuncturists are probably going to start reaching out to you more and more and more, because acupuncture in your practice, like hand in hand for hormonal health. Hello. Yeah.
It definitely is. It's been a game changer for me. Like I said, it's peeling back layers of the onion. The gut health was the first, and then learning about the emotion side and how that taps into everything, and acupuncture and the energy. So it's all related.
I love it from cognitive behavioral therapy. The perspective that it makes the most sense to me, we have a thought, and the thought creates the feeling to create a action or behavior. And I used to get so caught up in emotions and trying to create, chase after emotions. Yeah. But it really starts with that thought. It's like, it was a good mind opener for me again.
Yes.
Acupuncture actually became famous in the United States. I think it was in the 90s, because it helped thousands and thousands of women become pregnant. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. It is amazing. I love that we have that resource.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other client stories that you want to share, or just kind of like, you think it might connect with anyone listening?
Really just, if anyone, I would use gut health or look into gut health it's for everybody. Even if you don't have any health issues going on, it's just to maintain optimal health. You should always be thinking about the gut. What does the gut need to be healthy? And for me, that's one of the things people can start incorporating is digestive enzymes. Most of us have too little stomach acid as compared to too much. Our digestive enzymes start decreasing as we age, by the age of 20. So we should all sort of be taking a digestive enzyme. Helps you break down your foods properly. If you're not breaking down your foods properly, you're getting undigested foods and toxins into your system. So that's really the first place to start. And then you can always supplement with a probiotic or probiotic rich foods like sauerkraut and kimchi, or Korean version of sauerkraut, really just kind of thinking about populating the GI tract with those beneficial organisms. I'm a huge fan of bone broth. That's from the G.A.P.S diet. And essentially you are extracting all of those nutrients from the bones, the cartilage, the collagen, the connective tissue, all of those proteins that are really helpful in maintaining the integrity of the gut lining. So definitely broth. And then fiber is one of, I feel like, the biggest nutritional deficiencies, and especially in our diet. And fiber feeds the good bacteria in the gut. So if you don't have enough fiber in your diet, then, you know, that's going to lead way to an overgrowth of pathogens and all of that. So really making sure that you're being mindful of, you know, incorporating a little bit more fiber. But with just those simple things, you know, we can all do a little bit better with our gut. You don't have to kind of tackle it all at once, just small kind of changes and ease into it. In fact, especially as it relates to the G.A.P.S diet, I didn't start out on the intro stages. I actually started out on what's called the full G.A.P.S diet. So you have a list of a pretty lengthy list of a lot of foods. And I just did cooked foods and broth and stick to the, you know, full G.A.P.S diet list. And I did that because I was really sick at that point, and it was really overwhelming to go through those stages. And so I was like, oh, I'll just kind of start incorporating here. And I started feeling a little bit better, and I had a little bit more energy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to tackle the steps now. Now I know how to make broth, and now I'm kind of familiar with what G.A.P.S cooking is like. And it was a little bit easier for me to go through the steps in that way. So I just think for everybody out there, if you're looking to get into gut health, just there's or ways to support your gut. It's just little tiny changes make a huge difference. Don't feel like you have to change everything at once. Just, you know, slowly start to kind of ease into it. And then it becomes a lifestyle, you know, thinking about your stress and, you know, always incorporating those gut healthy foods into your diet to maintain that health is really key.
So well said. Yeah. Yeah, well, you are the professional. And this protocol works so well. It's incredible.
Amazing. Yes.
I know you have an amazing, if they, everyone listening goes to your website, you can go on there and download some of your killer bone broth recipes. And then there's a really program you have going on right now, it looks like too, where they can work with you. Is it a group or one-on-one?
It's one-on-one. So I'll work with people one-on-one to help them kind of, you know, restore their gut health, or basically if, you know, people want me to walk them through G.A.P.S diet, I have that. I also have an online program that people can go to and kind of go through it themselves. And it has all the information in that as well.
Oh, how cool. I love that. Yes. And I believe, is everything Fairy GutMother? Is that there? How do I connect? What's the website, Instagram and all that? Good stuff.
You bet. So my website's just fairygutmother.com, and then everything, all the same handles, is just at fairygutmother.
Amazing.
Yes.
Well, thank you for
thank you for having me.
And there's a cute puppy in there with you.
That's Marty. Marty. He's like, what are we doing?
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing this. And I hope everyone connects with you, because this protocol is amazing. And, you know, you can improve your menstrual cycle, but get your vitality back and heal, like you said, all sorts of things you didn't know that was there. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely the foundation for our health, like I said. So it's definitely the place to start.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Wonderful.
Please consult your licensed medical professional for any and all medical advice. The information contained here has not been evaluated by the FDA. This information is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease and is provided for educational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you have regarding a medical condition, and before undertaking any diet, supplement, exercise, or other health program.